have something that if you do miss, it won't fly into your neighbor's yard, and then you're getting a call, why is your arrow stuck in the side of my house? What's going on, all you outdoor enthusiasts? I'm Hunter.
And I'm Hunter.
And this is the H&H Awakening podcast, coming back to you with episode number 6. Got a little bit different setup. We're kind of tossing things around. I may sound a little far away sitting back like this. I'll try to get up to the mic a little bit. Still playing around with everything. I got Hunter over here on the screen. So if you see me looking off to the right, I'm looking at Hunter because he's either showing me something or I just like to make eye contact and look at his pretty little face. But yeah, got a new little setup. Today's episode is going to be about getting into archery, bow hunting,
competition.
Anything to do with the bow. I have a pretty good background in it. Hunter's got a background. He's come to some of the competitions with me, and just kind of getting into that. Before we start, I guess we'll kind of just catch everybody up on any new news. The only thing I can think of right now is we're working on the social media. We should have that done this week, hopefully.
Yep.
Got social media coming. We're working on subscription stuff for in the future. Just basically building the channel, helping it build. That's why we say your support really helps. Really keeps us going, getting us motivated.
Yep.
And then so we also have. Let's see. Oh, I guess one little thing I'll update you on the AR build that I'm still doing. I bought a sling today. It's just a temporary sling right now. It's not going to be the one I'm going to keep on it forever. I'm looking at getting the Blue Force Gear. What's it called?
The Vickers. Yeah.
Yeah, the Vickers padded sling. Right now I got the Magpul sling with the QD mounts and everything. I got the BCM QD, and then it just mounts to the Magpul stock on the backside. Haven't got to run it at a range or anything yet, but I mean, the way it feels, it's good, but I could definitely looking forward to getting the Vickers one that has the padding. And then I got some stuff on order, and Hunter's got some stuff ordered that we're probably going to showcase on the next episode. We got a pretty big episode either coming out
soon. It probably won't be next week, but
yeah, it probably won't be next week. We're going to be filming it this upcoming weekend, but we don't know when it'll come out because it's going to be a pretty big episode. But it's definitely one y'all going to want to stay tuned for. It's going to be a lot of shooting. Going to have some other people on the podcast, different kind of rifles, all that kind of stuff. Maybe some hunting stuff. Anything new you want to share, Hunter?
No, I think you kind of covered it all. Oh, my 6-inch 300 blackout that I've been talking about for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I finally got a handguard. Got a chance to shoot it last weekend, I believe, and it actually runs pretty fine. It doesn't run subs yet. But I think the dwell time's a little short. But besides that, I'm pretty sure I know how to fix it. Adjustable gas block won't do anything, but I can get a lighter bolt carrier group, which is what I'm kind of looking at right now. They're just kind of pricey, the ones that I found. I'm not going to go super cheap with it for obvious reasons, just for reliability purposes, but I think I'm gonna stick. I think Faxon makes one. They're like $225, something like that. So that's the one that I'm looking at right now. Besides that, I got a chest rig coming in.
Oh yeah. We're finna for the upcoming video. We're all gonna be pretty rigged out as far as the gear we got and everything.
For no reason, but
just for fun.
Just for fun. What? I think you ordered one too, right? You told me that.
Yeah, I ordered the T-Rex Arms Ready Rig. So it comes. This was my bad on the mess up, but the rig comes ready to go out of the box. You put it on, you're ready to go. You can slap your mags in it and everything. I thought you had to order the separate placard for it. Turns out the placard I ordered is actually for his plate carrier.
Well, you might as well keep it.
I'm gonna keep it so when I get the plate carrier. But it'll still mount to the chest rig. It's got the clips on top for your plate carrier, because the plate carrier's got the buckle down on top.
Yeah.
So it'll be all right. I'll keep that. But I went with the Wolf Gray, and then I went with the Coyote Brown on the mag carrier for it, because I want to do like a coyote tan off color to it.
Yeah, well, that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I'm ready for it to come in.
I know.
Got me some patches too.
I ordered this. Yeah, I know you did. You sent me a picture of them, kind of. But with mine, I ended up going Faro Concepts.
Mm-hmm.
It's a whenever you see it, you'll see like it's just small. It's literally just like a little thing like right here and just sits on your chest. Like,
yeah.
But they call it the dope front pouch, I believe is what it's called. And
for like your dope cards and stuff.
No, you can put dope cards in it, but basically what's cool about it is that you can have like so it's like a divider. So there's a front and a back, and you can put mags in like AR mags in the back, and you can put pistol mags up in the front. You can put a pocket in it. You can really do just about whatever you want with it.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and I got it all Ranger green because I like being basic.
Yeah, I saw the Ranger green.
So what's weird about the T-Rex Arms Ranger green? Though, it's a little bit bright.
Yeah,
from what I've seen, but this one's like a true like OD kind of camo green.
The one Cole got his chest rig in Ranger green, and it's actually dark. It almost looks like a grayish green, but their chest carrier now is like a brighter Ranger green. I know what you're talking about on that. Their chest, the plate carrier.
Yeah, and it could just be the pictures online.
Yeah,
because the ones on Faro, it has a white backdrop, and it actually looks really really dark. But then on T-Rex's Arms website, it looks a little bit light.
Well, everything on his freaking website's freaking dark. It looks like Christian Bale Batman dark. Like they put a like what's his name? Who's the guy that made the Christian Bale Batman?
I can't remember.
But yeah, it looks like he was the one that freaking edited the photos for him.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we'll jump into the archery thing. So obviously we talk a lot about guns. We talk about, shooting, hunting, everything. But some of you out there are wanting to get into archery, which I spent most of my childhood doing was archery stuff. I don't do it as much now because I've had both shoulders replaced basically. And so archery, I can still shoot, but it's not as comfortable as it used to be. But getting into archery, it can be expensive just like guns. There are entry level stuff you can get into,
which is probably what I know more about.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I started out with a Bear. I can't remember which Bear bow it was, but and BEAR, not BARE, but BEAR Bear bows. I started out with those hunting. I think that's what I won my first competition with, was just a cheap old Bear at Waco Bowman Club here, but no. With archery, just like guns and anything else, start simple, start, entry level, find out if you're going to like it first. I started out with the Bear, found out I liked it, and then I moved up to a Parker bow. Parker actually makes some pretty nice bows now. I mean, they always made nice bows, but they're making more higher end stuff now. Mm-hmm. But usually you can find an archery shop. Here we got a couple. They're just starting to pop up more and more places. The best thing is when getting into archery, for those of you who don't know, because we want to make sure everybody is welcome in this podcast. Archery is just another word. It's the name of the sport of shooting bow and arrow, like Robin Hood and all that kind of stuff. And we'll get into in a little bit difference between compound and recurve and all that, which I mainly shoot compound. So go to your archery shop. They can usually fit you for a bow. It's harder to order bows online until you know your fitment and your size and pound draw and everything. But
a lot of bows are adjustable though too now.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Well, there's some that aren't adjustable, and there's some that are. If you're getting into archery, especially if you're younger or just someone getting into in general, I always would say go for an adjustable bow as far as poundage and draw length. That way you can grow with the bow, or as you learn and everything.
It's especially if you're younger too.
Yeah. I mean, shoot, my Parker I had from the time I was like 9 to the time I turned 12, I think, and it grew with me. That's one thing I would definitely make your investment more worth it, is getting one that'll grow with you. But go to a bow shop. get fitted for the bow. They'll teach you, how they can teach you the simple things of how to draw it properly, how to work on it, or you can have the shop work on it, which starting out, I would definitely let the shop work on the bow for you. Make sure everything gets done right. But you go in there, you express to them, hey, I'm new, wanting to get into archery. I'm looking for a bow. This is what I want to do with it, whatever. Go in there, find you a bow that fits you in your price range. There's hundreds of different companies, different bows, different price ranges, everything. Parker's a good one. Bear's a good starter. Mission, which is a sub company of Matthews. Matthews is actually who my dad shot for. He also shot for PSE. Matthews is who I won a lot of my competitions with when I was younger. Matthews is a good one. There's many different companies, but Matthews has Mission, which is their like entry level, I guess you call it, their sub company. They're like cheaper range. You go with the Matthews Mission, and you can get, I can't remember what the freaking models are now. There's so many new ones, but go in there, basically tell them, hey, this is my price range, I'm wanting to get into archery, and they'll fit you up with the bow. Most of them will have a range. You can go in there and shoot it, test fire it and everything. And then so once you get your bow, you get your little target. You can get the block targets anywhere. I mean, you can get them at Walmart, Academy,
and they're not super expensive.
They're not super expensive. They're reusable. Once you get into like 3D shooting and stuff, we use 3D targets, but get you a block and then get you some field tips. That's the number one thing too, is you'll learn too as you get into it. So there's field tips and then there's broadheads. Field tips are going to be, it's kind of like the difference between your self-defense ammo and then your target ammo and firearms. Both of them, field tips and broadheads, will do damage to someone, or something. So that's also goes into the safety thing that we'll go over with. But get you some field tips for shooting target. You can go to your pro shop, talk to them about what grain tip you need to get. They'll cut you your arrows to length for you, everything. But get field tips, start practicing, then you get you a good set of broadheads for hunting. I can't remember who we used. It wasn't Muzzy broadheads, but
I've used Muzzy.
Yeah, I can't remember. I like fixed blade, so there's fixed blade and mechanical blade. I know I'm throwing a lot of information out right now, but we'll get all in that as we get more into it.
Yeah.
But start out with some field tips, get out there practicing, start out at 5, 10, 15 yards. I would say start out at about 10 yards and just sit there and practice on your draw and then releasing. There's definitely for a beginner.
I do the wrist strap with the trigger
wrist strap. Yeah, wrist strap with the trigger release. Once you get into it, you'll start seeing there's back tension, thumb buttons, all kind of sort of different releases. But the best one for starters is a wrist strap with just a little trigger on it. Get you set up with the good. Most bows, like starter kits that you can get, because you can buy bows either bare or you can buy them with a riser and sight and everything on there. Most of them are going to come with whisker biscuits. I don't recommend whisker biscuits. They tear up your fletchings. I
don't like it. The one I have on my bow. So it goes. It's not really a whisker biscuit. It's it's on like 3 different spots. So you go, but basically.
Oh, it's like 3 individual bristles spots.
Yeah. I still don't like it though. Sometimes I feel like it throws it off a little bit.
I prefer the drop away wrist. But I can't remember which one we use.
But at that point, you're getting a little bit more expensive with stuff too.
Yeah.
So
you can start out with the whisker biscuit. It's just fine. Once you get more into it, you'll want to try to get away from them. So yeah, get out there and just start practicing. I mean, I before I'd even started really going to competitions or hunting, I just shoot. I don't know how many thousands of rounds I shot through that bow. But you go out there and just stretch because your strings are going to stretch too on a new bow. So you want to go out there and just keep shooting, working on your form, working just like on a rifle. You want to slowly pull through that trigger. You don't want to jerk it. But start getting into just practicing, going to the range, or if you can do it in your backyard, wherever you can, practice with the bow and start getting figuring out what you like, different parts for the bow, different risers, different sights. You can get you quivers and everything.
Yeah.
And this is where it all starts to kind of come into preference stuff. So if you're bow hunting, you can get the quivers that snap on the side of your bow. Those are really good for bow hunting because you don't want to be carrying a bunch of different things when you're out in the field or you're climbing up a tree stand or whatever. I definitely recommend getting the ones that snap on your bow. But if you go to, I'm trying to think, you can go to Cabela's, and they usually have a pro shop in there. I guess you'd call it not pro shop, but they have like a bow shop in there, and then they have some diamonds, and I can't remember. They have a few like starter bows. I wouldn't recommend those. I mean, if you're not sure if you want to get into it, it's a great way to find out. You can buy one of their packs.
I think,
but I don't think it's a good investment.
I think it's a good like starting bow.
Figure out if you even like it.
Yeah, like that's the bow that I have, and I still have it. I don't really shoot it a whole lot. Just I don't have time, and I don't really have a place to shoot it. But
anywhere you can get your hands on one, really, is all that matters.
I'd steer away from Academy.
Yeah.
It's something against Academy. I just think that they don't have the better options, if that makes sense.
They have bows, but they're not ones I would recommend investing your money in, because what you'll learn with archery, guns, anything is the initial investment will affect your later.
It's kind of like a buy once, cry once kind of thing.
Yeah. So. If you want to buy something one time and know it's going to last you, it's going to be reliable and usable, then you may need to spend a little more. I mean, but you can get like an entry level bow anywhere between $300 to $500, and they're just fine. I think some of the Missions and Parkers and Bears and all those, they're really good bows, and they're around that price.
Like my Diamond from Bowtech, which you give a lot of crap about, Slow Tech Bowtech.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with them. That's just a little joke I run around with him.
But like the starter thing that I had, it came with like the quiver that snaps on the side of the bow, came with a bow case, and then I think at the time they were having a thing where you get like a half a dozen free shafts, but they were pre-cut shafts, so it wasn't great. They weren't great quality, but they were like aluminum versus carbon fiber. We'll get into that later too, but I think they're just straight aluminum, and then I just got some field tips, but it's a great way to start because it's not super expensive.
So that's actually something good to bring up now too. Is so when you buy your bow, you're going to look for arrows. Most of your pro shops hopefully will steer you away from aluminum arrows. The problem with aluminum arrows is, as most know, aluminum bends. They're heavier. Aluminum also bends. It dents. It damages a lot easier than carbon fiber, which is what most of your arrows are now.
But carbon, if you miss target and you hit a tree, it shatters. But aluminum won't.
Sometimes.
Like the couple competitions I've been to, like the guys that I was shooting with, they were shooting carbon and they missed and hit a stump and it exploded. So,
well, it also depends on the tip they have, because some of the like competition tips, it's the way it's put inside the shaft is it will explode a lot easier. It depends on the tip you got.
Oh,
it's kind of but yeah, no, I would definitely go carbon. I mean, if you're someone just getting into, you go with aluminum, you're just going to have to make sure you're not bending the arrows when you're pulling them out of the target, or checking them every shot, make sure they're not damaged or warped. In my opinion, it'd be better just invest your money in some carbon arrows. They make thousands of different kind of carbon arrows, different price ranges too. But getting out there and practicing, and then that's how I started out, and then I started getting into competition. So if you're wanting to get in competition, there's multiple organizations. There's ASA and there's SciWatt, which is indoor stuff. But if you're wanting to do like the outdoor, feel like you're kind of hunting type thing, I would definitely recommend ASA Federation. It's a United States wide thing. I'm not sure if it's in other countries or not. I can't remember. It's been a minute. But ASA Federation, you can look it up. Like if you're in Texas, the website's Texas ASA Federation, and you can go on there and you can look up shoots, competition shoots and everything, and go. And usually it's like shoot $5-10, or you can say you want to shoot for fun. It doesn't cost you anything. You just shoot the range. I think you may pay like a range fee depending on the range you go to. But that would be when you get into like 3D targets. So you have 3D like life-size animals like hogs, deer, alligators, all kinds of fun stuff. Yeah. So getting in, I would definitely. So if you want to get into competition, you feel like you worked your way up, or you just feel like you're ready to go shoot. I would do ASA Federation. Find a shoot, find the start time, everything, or they may just have like a anytime come out, whatever, and shoot. You go shoot. What you're going to need really for most target shoots is I'd recommend bringing some sort of foldable chair that you can carry. They make shooter chairs for archery, but I mean, or you don't have to have chair. This will also kind of go in the category of just getting in shape, because you're going to do a lot of walking for 3D targets, ASA stuff. You're going to do a lot of walking, so it's a good way for you to get in shape. Or if you're already working on getting into shape, it's a good way to kind of test your endurance and everything. But what I would say you need before you go to a competition is you need your bow, you need your arrows, either a quiver that mounts on the side of the bow. If you're wanting to get more into target, you could go for the belt side quiver, or like the one that goes over your shoulder. Just basically something to hold your arrows. And then you're definitely going to need some binoculars. And then depending on what class you shoot, you may or may not need a rangefinder. Some classes you're allowed to use rangefinders, some you're not. I would recommend starting out doing the known yardage classes, which there's so many different classes now. So I don't know the exact name of the classes, but back when I was shooting, there was like the known hunter and then the unknown hunter class. But yeah, you'll need your bow, arrows, quiver, binoculars, and a rangefinder. That's bare necessities really for shooting. A lot of ranges have water jugs and stuff on the range, but I'd recommend bringing some sort of thing to drink water or hydrate. And then just really kind of sign up, jump into it, and go for it. Really, archery is kind of like anything outdoors. You can look up stuff all day on video. You can listen to us chat about it. But to get the full feel for it and the full experience, the best way to do it is to just go do it. Go get out there, experience it, and everything. God dang, my throat's getting dry. But yeah, that's basically how to get into archery. You can do the Siwat. That's going to be more indoor, 20-yard max. That's the kind of like stuff you see in the Olympics. It's going to be paper targets. That's another good way, especially to hone in on your skills. It's just 20 yards. You're working on your trigger pull, working on your draw, and then just working on holding that bow steady and just repeatedly putting the arrow where it needs to go. Now, when you're getting into the hunting sort of thing, gets a little more in depth. I wouldn't necessarily recommend. You can start out hunting with it if you want. I would recommend going to a competition first and really practicing a lot before you get into hunting with the bow and arrow. Because hunting with the bow and arrow versus a rifle is tremendously different. Rifle, you can be 100, 200 yards away in a stand, plain clothes, all that. And you don't have to worry about scent or worry about the animal seeing you as much. But when you get into bow hunting, there's multiple options you can do. You can hunt out of a stand if the stand is big enough or you got a wide enough shooting valley to shoot out your window. But the way we usually do it is out of a tree stand, bipod, or on the ground. Like when we went down to South Texas, that's what most of ours was doing, was in the ground. Of course, everything out there is 2 foot tall, so you had to dig holes in the ground just to hide yourself. But if you have a place to hunt, or if you can, like we discussed in the other podcast, different ways to find places to hunt. Once you find somewhere to hunt, get your bow. You're going to definitely want to be in camos for bow hunting. When it comes to bow hunting, it's all about making yourself desensitized. You don't want to smell like a Whataburger patty melt or gas or anything that's not natural to them out in the wild. Which you can go to Walmart and get the dead downwind like detergent for your clothes, and then the spray and deodorant, body wash, all that. I recommend that stuff. It's amazing for bow hunting. So you get that, desensitize yourself, and then you can either, if you want to just start out, you can just simply start out by sitting behind some brush, covering yourself up, and bow hunting that way, or you can do the tripod or tree stand thing, but that's where you'll get into spending a little more money. It just all depends on your budget and how you're wanting to really invest yourself in this right off the get-go. But I can tell you right now, and I don't know if have you ever killed anything with the bow?
No.
So you've hunted with your rifle before, haven't you?
Yeah.
So have you ever killed anything with your rifle yet?
No, we've talked about this like every other podcast. And I've gone deer hunting, but I've never shot a deer.
So, well, you know that adrenaline rush you get in general when you're hunting, right?
Yeah.
You've seen the animal out there, okay? And for those of you listening that have rifle hunted but never bow hunted, so your adrenaline rush is here with the rifle, right? Or however high you rate it. You take that and you multiply it by 10, and that's the adrenaline rush you get with bow hunting, in my opinion. The first bow kill I ever got, and I'm not afraid to admit it, I freaking burst into tears. Not like sad or, anything. It was just, you have so much adrenaline, and then when you finally do the job, it's just all that adrenaline just rushes out of you, and it's just uncontrollable. It's an amazing experience. It's definitely, if you're out there rifle hunting now, or you're a deer hunter now, you've been for years, or you're wanting to get into it, and you're looking for another high, to get while hunting, bow hunting will do it for you. Once you bow hunt, if you do like I did and my dad did, you'll probably sit down that rifle for a while and just do nothing but strictly bow hunt, because holy cow, it is amazing. But yeah, archery when you're hunting is a lot more goes into it versus a rifle, but the payoff at the end is amazing. And the thing about bow hunting that makes it more difficult than rifle hunting that you'll need to understand is you're not going to be pulling 100-yard shots, 200-yard shots with the bow. It's going to be, anywhere between 5 to 7,500 or 75 yards. You're going to be a lot more closer to the animal, which also kind of increases the what do you call it? The feeling or the sense of endurance, not endurance, the sense of rush you get, I guess, is you're so up close and personal with that animal. You're outside in the shit, I guess you could call it, and you're just there. It's you, the animal, and the wilderness. It's a really amazing experience, and that's what I really like about bow hunting, and that I feel like a lot of people need to get more into bow hunting. You see on these movies and stuff, you have Katniss from what you call it, Hunger Games. Yeah, and then you have Hawkeye and all that, which is really kind of brought to life, or brought to like most people's eyes, is like, oh, this bow thing's kind of cool. It's not all about guns or pistols, rifles, all that kind of stuff. And there's some crazy stuff you can get into. We actually had some prototype explosive tips, I guess you call them. Not really explosive, but we had some tips that you could put like a 223 or a 410 shell in them. We never used them, but there's just a lot of cool things that you see Hawkeye use in the Avengers, and you think, oh, no way that thing's real. But some of the stuff you see Hawkeye use is we're getting pretty close to making it nowadays. But the hunting thing is just, it's all like everything. It's all trial and error. Just going out there, really kind of getting into it and just learning for yourself. Basically, this episode is just kind of to help you figure out which way to start walking. And then once you start walking, we're kind of just sitting back and you're doing your own thing, because it's such a not hard, but it's such a, well, I guess it's hard to give you a full walkthrough on how to use a bow and arrow without you being there. It's more of a hands-on learning thing, but I can promise you when you do spend the time on it, it is a very amazing thing to get into. Like the competition side, I won my first state championship when I was in middle school, I believe. And just knowing how much time I put into it, practicing, shooting and everything, that payoff when you get that big shiny buckle is just really amazing. And then you can eventually work your way up to sponsorships like my dad did. I had some sponsors, but my dad was actually sponsored through a bow company. And those are all sorts of things that you could work your way up to if you want to, or if you just want to be a weekend shooter, go to some competition and hunt when you can with it. It's definitely something I recommend. So if you're I guess we can kind of get into the bow company thing. Different bow companies to look out there for. Which one did you say you have, Hunter? You
I've
said you
got
have
the Diamond from
sl-
Bowtech. Slow
the
Tech.
slow tech. Yeah, the
Yeah.
which the reason I used to call them slow tech is Bowtech is a pretty good company now, but back in the day there was like a joke that they had the slowest feet per second bows around, so everybody called them slow tech. There's slow tech, blow tech, and,
Yeah.
PSE they call it pull squeeze explode. Matthews, the only thing we could say about Matthews is it's a Manthews because that was a man's bow. I'd say they're all getting pretty equal as far as the capabilities nowadays. With the technology we have, it's really hard to go wrong with any company.
Yeah, so I started out with that Diamond just because I was younger and I didn't have money, so
Yeah,
it was a good place to start because you're the one that kind of convinced me to get one, and then we go to a couple competitions, and then I think one. So the only bad thing that I ever had happen with that bow was the screw on the sight. The threads came undone. Do you remember that competition?
was that the one where it was all muddy? That
Was it that one? No, it was actually a nice day out. It wasn't crappy weather. I think it might have been Paris.
oh yeah, you went to Paris with us, right?
Yeah.
Paris, Texas, by the way. We didn't go to Paris, France. I freaking wish.
To shoot archery. No,
Yeah.
But it was like I was with the guy, like my little group or whatever, and I guess I sat down. So this is one thing I learned. Number one, that day. And number two, what to do different. Because your dad actually told me not to do that anymore. Was I set the bow down on the sight, and then it bumped it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and the target was like 20 yards away, so it's not. To me, it wasn't that hard of a shot. But it was like I shot like 4 foot over it.
Yeah.
So, and then I was like, what? And then it happened on the next target, which in the competitions that we were in, you could only shoot once. I think, right? You only have one shot, and you miss, it's 0. Is that correct?
Yes. Yeah. It'd be one shot each stake or each target. You get one shot.
Yeah, and so
ASA rules.
So I missed like two or three targets in a row, and that set me back a lot. And then I looked at the sight, and the sight, so I made marks on it, so like if I was ever messing with it, I could always put it back. Well, the mark was off by like a couple millimeters, and you couldn't really tell unless you actually really looked at it. So it was off, and then I adjusted it back, and then I was hitting 12s. Right? Isn't that the highest one? 12's the highest.
Yeah, 12. It used to be 14, but now ASA it's 12. Only 14s for shoot downs.
Okay.
But yeah, 12 ring is the highest.
Yeah, and then I started. I think I hit like 3 12s in a row, and then I hit an 8 and a 10, and I was like, "Well, son of a bitch! I probably could have won the competition in that." But there's only like 3 people in the competition.
Yeah,
like in my group, so I ended up getting 3rd place. But I ended up coming back by like, I think I only lost by like 5 points. So
yeah,
from getting 2nd.
Which goes into the trial and error thing. You
Yeah.
get out there and you kind of learn different. You kind of learn as you go, and the good thing about like the archery community, ASA, and different organizations, it's a pretty welcoming group of guys and gals and everything. Is you don't have to worry about going out there and doing bad and being made fun of. Most people are supportive out there. There's a lot of people that have been in it in a while, and then there's people like Hunter who that was his first few competitions. But the people who've been in it a while are usually pretty helpful. They'll kind of teach you or give you some hints and pointers, which I'm sure it's the same in rifle competition.
I remember my first competition with you. It was that pro-am, and the professional that we were shooting with, he was actually just giving tips like to both of us. So even though you were in it a long time, I remember him still giving us tips. So
yeah, there's a lot of good guys out there. Very good family friend of ours that we used to shoot with, and he basically taught my dad everything he knew about competition. He was pretty big in the sport. Everybody knew his name. And then when he passed away, it was kind of like a crazy thing because he taught so many people different things, and that was what that's what I also love about competition, especially in ASA, is you kind of start, as you make in relationships, you start kind of building like a family out there, and you could tell the impact he had on people just by the way people were affected when he passed away. Is because he taught so many of us how to shoot and everything. And that's another thing is with anything outdoor, I feel like it's a good way for people who, you know, maybe you're looking for your clique or your group to get in with. There's a lot of activities you can do in outdoor that you can really become part of a big family. And ASA is definitely one of those. And that's the thing too, that like Hunter, he talked about pro-ams. So there's pro-ams and then there's state level stuff. Pro-ams is like the nationwide, all over the US type competitions. Those are the really crazy ones where you get to see everybody kind of come together and compete. But you can start out state level and then work your way up to pro-ams, which will all be listed on like Texas ASA Federation or ASA Federation. I'm pretty sure every state has their own ASA website, which is where you can learn a lot about the competition. But as far as like bow companies to get into it, you have PSE, which
I'm gonna
trying to remember what
while you're talking.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember what PSE stands for. PSE is a good bow brand. I believe they have a sub company now. Matthews is a good one. Bowtech, Mission, which is a sub company of Matthews, Parker, Bear, Martin Bows. There's so many different companies, but I'm just kind of trying to throw some names out there just for you to know, like, hey, if you see this, it's an okay company to go with. Which, just like guns, I mean, I've been out of archery for 4 years now since my shoulder surgeries, and there's been numerous new companies pop up since then. And that's the thing too that I could go with if I wanted to, but it's not the same to me. But for someone out there who has disability or just doesn't like the idea of drawing back bows, there are the option of crossbows. You kind of get into a different category with those. But crossbows is another way for someone who maybe has a harder time drawing back a bow could get into, so they could still be in the archery category, is crossbows, which a lot of the companies I listed make crossbows now. It really just kind of depends on your price range and what you want to get into. So forms of practice, kind of going with, once you get your bow and everything, ways you can practice is, you know, you're not always going to be able to practice outside and practice at a range or practice shooting. The best thing I did, and I don't think I have it, but you can buy the kits. They're buy them pre-made now, but we made ours out of paracord. So like practicing your draw or your trigger release and everything, you get a piece of paracord, wrap it in your non-dominant hand, and then you get your trigger finger, and all you do is just put tension, and you just sit there and just boom, click, reset it. And you can work on your trigger that way. The biggest thing about bows is you can dry fire, you know how you can dry fire rifles and pistols and stuff. You cannot dry fire a bow. Worst thing you can do to a bow is pull that thing back, no arrow on there, and just pop, release it. It's a good way to split your limbs or your riser, or just have the whole thing come apart. Which thing about bows versus indoor or guns is you can practice shooting inside of, you know, your room or whatever. Wouldn't recommend it starting out, but once you get confident enough.
And by practice shooting, we mean dry fires. We don't mean loading around the chamber and shooting through a wall.
Oh yeah, well I'm talking about bows now, but yeah. When I'm talking about you can dry fire practice with your guns and stuff, you know, which we'll go into that in a later episode when we get into gun stuff. But yeah, definitely don't load around and practice inside of your house with your gun. That's a no-go. But yeah, there's numerous ways you can practice. I definitely recommend like the paracord thing if you just want to make your own, practice your trigger. And then if you have a bag or whatever, you can sit there and practice drawing with an arrow on it and letting down, drawing and letting it. Because it's something that at first it's going to feel really weird drawing that bow back. You're going to get sore. Trust me, you'll build up the muscles in your shoulders and it'll become an easier thing to do. but definitely requires practice and just kind of working with it. And then the freaking, what do you call it?
But I think another good thing about bows too, like even if you have like a pretty decent sized backyard, even if like just for like your dog to run around in the back, you can practice in the backyard. But just don't shoot over a fence or something.
So yeah, that's the same thing with guns is safety. Don't point your bow and draw back at something you're not willing to destroy or do damage to. I would definitely recommend, if you can't and you got somewhere in your yard to shoot, just make sure you have a backstop, something to stop the arrow if you miss the target. And then just with anything, firearms and all that, you always want to make sure you're safe. Don't go running around chasing it, pointing at people, because it may not seem like a bow can do a lot of damage, but it doesn't take much force for that arrow to go through someone or something. And if that's something you don't want to destroy, definitely not worth taking the chance of playing around. And there's also your freak accidents of bows blowing up or arrows blowing up. Don't let that scare you away. That's a very small occurrence. I mean, I've never had one do it to me that I can think of. I've seen it happen, definitely seen it happen, which is why I would recommend the wrist strap, because I seen a kid who, it was in Louisiana program. He had one of the it was right when back tensions were really kind of getting popular. He was testing out a back tension, and he freaking, because back tension, you just hold it in your hand. You let go with it with your hand, it's gone. Well, he freaking drew back, and somehow he let go of it with his hand, and it spun off the string and knocked like 5 of his front teeth out.
Oh, Jesus.
And he fell to the ground. It was bad, but that's why I would definitely recommend starting out with the wrist strap. Is you can hurt yourself with the bow. I mean, I'm not going to hide that fact from you. You can hurt yourself if you're not being safe and not know what you're doing. So definitely start out simple. Don't go out crazy, because you can hurt yourself. But don't let that scare you away, because it's, as long as you're doing it safely and you're starting out, simple, not going out there getting a back tension, not going out there acting stupid, it's a very fun thing to get into.
Yeah, and then going back to like starting stuff too, go with I would recommend a 3-pin to start out with for your sight, and then move up to 5-pin. And then if you're really getting into competition stuff and you're shooting like 50 yards, I'd go ahead and get a magnified optic.
So the magnified thing kind of depends too on the person. My dad never shot magnified because people who shoot with glasses or contacts, they'll kind of, which you can get clarifiers in your peep and everything once you get into it. But the magnification I used, I loved it. It's basically, so like I use what they call a scope on bows, and it's 1 pin, and you dial to your yardage, which I don't recommend those for hunting, because most of the time you're not going to have time to dial.
Yeah.
They're noisy and everything. But I would shoot it with the scope magnified. It was like 3 power or 2 power, something like that. It's definitely something you can get into. Competitions, I definitely prefer a scope over a pin. Just a little more accurate and a little more reliable. Well, yeah, reliable, I guess you could call it. But then that's when you kind of get into spending a little more money,
because those aren't cheap. They are very expensive.
And that's where sponsorships help.
Yeah.
And if you're putting your name out there, you're being kind, talking to people, you're doing good, showing that you have initiative. A lot of times you can get like smaller companies to sponsor you, and you can get discounts and stuff. That really helps. That's what I love about a lot of the companies, and like for ASA Federation, is they're willing to help, and they want to see the industry grow. So that's like another option you can do, is getting in with sponsorships. Sometimes your shops, especially the smaller shops, are looking for people to sponsor. So you can get into sponsorships with them. That sometimes they'll either provide you with the bow, or they'll give you a discount. which really helps out your pocket in the long run. And just like anything, find someone who can teach you, find someone who can show you, or someone you can look up to. I guess you're like a role model, you could say. A really good, which he's kind of controversial right now, so I don't want to speak too much on it. But my role model growing up for competition was Levi Morgan. I know if you're in the bow community, there's a lot of controversy going around him right now, so I don't want to really get into all that. But people like him, crazy, amazing shooter in competition, everything. Those are just people you can kind of look up to, watch what they're doing, see. Most of your pro shooters have videos or some sort of book or something. You can even go up to them at the shoots, contact them, social media, and talk to them. Hey, how can I get into this, or what are some tips? Like Hunter was saying, we were at that shoot, and that pro shooter was just giving him simple tips. Even your everyday shooters, non-pros, they'll give you tips. But find a mentor or a role model or someone who's been in it, and ask them, hey, I'm wanting to get into it. I don't know what I'm doing. Can you help me out? And a lot of times they will. And that's what really kind of helps, because if you just try to go in there and do your own thing, it's possible, but it is a lot to learn. And that's why I say finding a role model or someone to help you is the best way. I actually had a buddy I used to work with contact me today. He's wanting to get into archery and kind of help him figure it out. He wants me to show him the works about it. And I'm no pro whatsoever, don't claim to be, but I know enough to help him get into it because he's never done it. But find a role model, and which you can find a lot of like your pro shooters through the website of the bow companies like Matthews, PSC, all that. They have their pro staff listed on there, which kind of goes into websites and organizations. You can look all this up because it's a lot of information to condense into one podcast. But ASA Federation is a good website for competitions. You can look up any of the bow companies, which I'll say them again just in case. PSE, Matthews, Mission, Bowtech, Martin, many different bow companies you can look up. You can just literally look up bows and kind of look at that. You can buy bows through Cabela's Academy, Walmart. It's just all different price ranges you want to go to. If you're in the Dallas area, Cinnamon Creek is a very big bow shop up there. And then Austin area, there's I'm trying to remember the name of it. There's a really good bow shop in Austin. Cannot remember the freaking name of it now. But basically, the biggest thing with archery, getting into it, is just going to your bow shop, finding out what you're looking for, talk to one of the guys there, and they'll kind of get you into it. It's all about doing your research. I know this is kind of a very broad podcast. You may feel like we're not really giving you like detailed instructions, but really,
if you want to hear more detailed instructions, let us know.
Yeah, if you want to hear more detailed instructions. But the crazy thing about bows really is just
getting out there.
It's getting a bow, getting it in your hands, and practicing and learning it as you go. It's hard to break. If I sat here and broke down every single step of how to get into archery, we'd be here for weeks, months, on end. But if this is something you definitely want us to go in more detail about, hey, how do I sight in my bow, or how do I adjust my poundage, all that, let us know, and we can kind of write it in as we go. I saw something pop up on the notes. I thought you were writing.
No.
But so I guess if you want to kind of like how would you say your first time experience going out and shooting was? Like, how did it feel for you?
So before I went hunting, or not hunting, before I went shooting with my bow for the first time, I did what everybody probably my age did first, and went to YouTube and kind of looked up how to properly grip the bow, how to properly pull back the string on the bow, how to set up pins, all that kind of stuff. I think the first time I shot was in my backyard. It's either in my backyard or it was when we went to the outhouse one time.
Mm-hmm.
I can't remember exactly which one it was. No, it was my backyard because I got it on Christmas, and I decided to just go out in the backyard and shoot it. I didn't even have a draw for it. I think I just got a cheap one at Cabela's while they were working on my stuff to get like the proper draw length and weight set up on it. But whenever it was all set up, I think the first time shooting it, it was kind of daunting at first. Like I don't know why, I was just kind of nervous because it was just something new. But I was alone, so I wasn't scared of people like making fun of me and stuff. But I was really just trying to just go through the motions. Which is kind of what you were talking about, just getting out there and practicing. And then whenever I felt confident enough, that's when I went up to you and I was like, hey, let me go on a bow competition with you and we'll see so I can see what it's all about.
Yeah.
And I think your dad wanted me to go to the outhouse to go shoot first to see if he really wanted to take me or not. I'm pretty sure he did. So we met at the outhouse, and I remember going to the outhouse with you guys to shoot because it was so hot upstairs.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't get my shafts out of the block because my hands were so sweaty.
Mm.
And but I feel like I shot decent enough, and then I went to that pro-am with you.
Don't you hate when you can't get your shaft out because your hands are so sweaty?
Yeah. But I went, ended up going to that pro-am with you. I don't even know where it was. I think it was College Station.
Oh, then that was just a regular state level. That wasn't a pro-am.
What was the
The pro-am we went to was Paris.
Was it Paris?
I know we went to one. Did you go to the one with me in Brownwood?
It might have been in Brownwood.
And then there was a few of them.
Because I remember, I think it was like the night before we were in the hotel gym for like 2 hours, and then we went to the range and we were warming up and we were just so tight and sore. Do you remember that?
Yeah. Dang, what shoot was that? I think that was the one that was muddy.
Yeah. It might have been. But I remember it being a nice day, though.
Because I remember I was shooting bad, and I was kind of letting my anger show, and I was like throwing a big old fit.
Yeah. But I remember that shoot, I lost. I mean, my goal was just to hit targets. Like, I didn't care what I scored. I just wanted to hit. And I remember, I think it was like the cheetah in like the tree.
Yeah.
And you had to shoot in between another tree that kind of like veered off like this. My arrow went smack in the middle of the trunk of the tree. And I was like, oh my God. I don't know why. I think I'm just so nervous.
Yeah.
Because it was one of the first targets that we shot, one of the first stations that we shot. But yeah, it was after that, I was probably way more confident than I probably should have been. I was
it's scary getting into it, but once you shoot and everything, you realize it's not that intimidating.
We can definitely talk about this in another episode too. Is like getting into competition shooting, because it's the same kind of thing, but I think in the bow world, I was more confident going into shooting than going to a pistol competition to shoot. Like,
oh yeah, I feel like that's definitely a whole different,
because we're kind of veering off the bow topic, but like in the first couple of competitions I went to with pistols, I was like, I watched people in front of me shoot, and I was like, there's no way I'm going to beat them. Like,
yeah,
there's no physical way that I'm going to beat them, because they're fast, they're accurate, their guns are more expensive, and they have lighter triggers, they have compensators, all sorts of stuff, and I'm running with a stock Glock 34.
Which goes into, I definitely want to try out one of those, what do you call it? PRS?
No, so PRS is the like long range tactical.
What's the one where you go and like you can run through like a short range course, and it's like rifle and pistol.
Oh, 3-gun.
Well, like there's ones that's just rifle and pistol, like AR and pistol.
It's probably like 2-gun. There's so many competitions and variations of competitions.
I want to do a competition where you just go out there and you have like a rifle and a pistol, and you just kind of like run through a course, kind of like Taron Tactical does at his courses with John Wick when he's Keanu Reeves.
I would honestly recommend just doing 3-gun at that point.
Really?
Yeah, because you're gonna have more competition. Because I haven't heard a lot about 2-gun, but 3-gun's really, really popular.
I just want to do one where I can move. I don't want to do one where you're just sitting there shooting stationary the whole time.
But they make pistol only ones. So they have USPSA, then they have IDPA.
Mm-hmm.
USPSA is like there's different variations within the program. So there's like, I think there's one where you can't have modifications. Then there's open, which you can do any modifications you want. Then there's like limited, which you can only have like a compensator or a trigger. It's the same thing with like 3-gun too. But going into that competition though, I was like, dude, because like on one of the targets, you hit a steel target and then it knocks another target and it swings it. And it's another steel target that you have to like flip off. It's like it was like a Texas Star, but it's not.
That's what I was gonna say. Is it like a Texas Star mechanism?
It's kind of similar, but it's not the exact same. So, like I hit the target and it came over, and I was expecting myself to miss the next shot because you have to hit that shot to go to the next one.
Yeah.
And I smoked on the first one, and I kind of looked around for a second. I was like, "Oh my god, I just hit it! My first shot!" And then I ran to the next one. I'll be honest, the guy that was taking my time was kind of a dick. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
Like, it was my first competition when all that was kind of going on, like just nerves and stuff.
Yeah.
He was kind of being a dick and like
trying to hurry you.
No, it wasn't like a hurry thing. It was more like you don't really know what you're doing, and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't need you to tell me that.
Because so I don't know I don't remember if it was the same way doing these 3D archery shoots with you, but like you rotate who goes first, right?
Yeah. Every target you switch the order.
And we always had groups of 3 in archery.
Yeah, 3, 4. It depends on how many people are shooting that day at the range. It varies on how many's on a target.
Yeah. But with what we were doing, we had so there's 5 stations, and then there's like a lunch break, so they could reset it up, and then there's 5 more. So there's 10 stations we had to shoot through, and it ended up it was like the 3rd station we were at. I was the first one to go, and so what's cool about the competition that I was in though, you could walk the stage first and count your shots because you have very limited ammunition in your gun. On some stages you're limited to 1 mag at 10 rounds.
Yeah.
So, and this is one of the stages. So I walked through it, and I was like, all right, there's a target right there, and then 2 targets right here, 2 targets in the window, 2 more targets in the window. And then, actually, no, this was the 2 mag. And then there was a reload, and then there's 2 more targets. So you had 14 shots you had to hit. And I shot the targets in the window. I reloaded as I'm walking through, and then I shot the other 2 targets, and then I was done. The guy was a dick, and he said, well, you don't know if there's bad guys on the other side of the wall, so you have to reload before you go through the windows. I was like, I just shot the 4 bad guys there. That doesn't make any sense. But
they're dead. There ain't nothing they can do.
I don't know, he was just kind of being a dick about it. But there's always those people. I didn't meet anybody in the archery stuff though. I think in the archery world, there's a lot more genuine people than
more laid back.
Yeah, because everyone at the archery thing just seemed like they just wanted to go there and have a good time.
Yeah, majority of the guys there are more welcoming. They're just there because they're enjoying their day off.
Yeah,
they'd rather be doing that than working or something else. Yeah. Which kind of goes into my story. I just thought of the time I got to shoot with Rick Perry, Governor Rick Perry.
Yeah,
in Austin. That was a fun shoot, which is kind of goes in the competition thing, like the different people you can meet and everything. We were at that shop in Austin. I'm trying to remember what it's called. I think it's called Archery. Yeah, Archery Country, I believe. I don't know if they changed the name now. But we got there and we started shooting and everything, and they told us. So it was like not your traditional. It was kind of a fun shoot. We had a steel target, and there was about a 2 or 3 inch hole that you had to shoot through the steel target. Mm-hmm. And freaking Rick Perry actually shot with us. He had his bow and everything, and we were shooting, and it got down. It was double elimination or something like that, and there was no age group really. But I was the only one my age. I was like 13 or 14 at the time. Everybody else was in their 30s. And I was shooting my rounds, and then I got off because the next wave would shoot. And I was actually standing by this dude in a Hawaiian shirt. And I was sitting there playing with my pocket knife. I had a pocket knife, and I was just sitting there like flipping it open like this. And then I would just like pick at my nails and everything. And I kept noticing the dude in the Hawaiian shirt was staring at me. It turns out it was freaking Rick Perry's bodyguard, and he was like keeping an eye on me because he was like, "What the hell is this kid just doing with the pocket knife?" But we got to meet with Rick Perry and talk to him, and it was a really cool experience. But after he left, they brought in mariachi band and a bunch of Mexican guys, which for those of you in Texas, you know why that's funny. But they brought in some mariachi guys, and it came down to me and one other guy, I think it was another guy for the final shoot down. And basically while we were shooting, as soon as you started drawing, the mariachi band would get right behind your ear and just whatever, playing their music as loud as they could in your ear while you're sitting there trying to focus and shoot through this little 2-inch hole. And we kept going back and forth, and I was beating all around the edge of that hole, and it would hit and it would deflect out. The person that freaking ended up winning it, which I think they only let that person win because it went on forever, is their arrow hit the steel and exploded, and a piece of their carbon, a little small sliver, went through the hole and stuck. And that's how they end up beating me, is because their arrow exploded and a piece went through there. Even though you could see clearly where I was basically giving that thing a rim job with my arrow.
Yeah.
This dude happened to hit like a couple inches off, and his arrow exploded and went through and won. But that was a really fun experience, and that's what I'm kind of telling you about, like in archery, is there's just numerous things you can get into. And then like hunting, I've had many fun experiences hunting down South Texas on Mike Palmer's ranch. And then the one that sticks with me the most hunting was I was hunting on one of our leases here, and my dad, I was like, hey, I want to bow hunt or whatever, but I don't want to sit in the stand. So he just kind of plopped me out at one of our feeders. And I was sitting behind a bush about 3 foot tall. And I was just sitting on the ground, and these group of hogs came out. And I was like, oh, crap. So I stood up, not thinking, and they ran off. And then they came back out because hogs are pretty retarded and or dumb, ignorant, whatever you want to say. But they came back out. So then I tried to kneel and squat and shoot. And they freaking saw me, and they ran off again. So what I ended up having to do is I sat on my butt and I drew back, and then I had to lean in like a how in middle school they make you lean back and do the scissor kicks.
Yeah. I
had to lean back in that like formation. And for those of you watching on video, I had to lean back like this, and I freaking just got just enough clearing to shoot, and I shot and ended up getting one of the pigs. But that was just another experience that really hooked me on the archery thing, is when it comes to like rifle, you can sit in a stand, you can sit there, it comes out, you aim, you shoot, it's done. But with archery and bow hunting, it's like a case by case scenario. You never know what's going to get thrown at you. And like right there, I had to kind of on the fly figure out, okay, how am I going to get this shot off? And I ended up having to, which I was a little thicker back then, and I didn't have the abs I have today, And
today, anyway.
Hey, I do. They're covered with a safety protectant around it. But yeah, that was ab workout from heck. But I ended up getting the job done, and that's what I love about archery, is it doesn't feel like the same experience every time you go out. It's something new is getting thrown at you, a new obstacle you have to get over to get the job done. But that's really all I can think of as far as,
I think one difference that I see a lot with archery versus like shooting a gun. It's going to be a challenge no matter what when compared to a rifle. So like the couple times, so I've gone pig hunting in the Panhandle, and I've never really had like that adrenaline itch because it's a pig, and it's just like you just blast them. But with like the one time I went deer hunting, like the one time I actually saw something that I could shoot but I didn't shoot for other reasons. I still didn't get a rush from it, but I want to do whenever I get more into hunting, I want to do an archery hunt of some sort. I don't care what animal it is, because I've heard a lot about the rush. Kind of what you were explaining earlier.
It's like which I've never done this, but it's like smoking a cigarette versus shooting heroin. It's two totally different highs, you know. You get that little nicotine high versus it's incredibly an amazing feeling when you hunt with the bow, or even just shooting competition. It's hard to describe it, but I know if I could bottle it up into like a drink or something, I would, because it's an amazing feeling, bow hunting or competition.
Yeah. But I mean, like, so the guy I went with, just to clear up that story of like the one time I could have shot a deer but I didn't. It was during when COVID was just rampant and you couldn't go anywhere. Everywhere was shut down. It was still during that kind of time period. All the processing places around where we were hunting, they were all closed to the public because they were already stocked or whatever. They honestly just weren't even open. And so we went out the first morning, saw it. We were going to be there for a couple days, like 4 or 5 days. And if we killed anything in the first day, we'd have to leave so we can go get it processed. But then we ran back into town to go grab something, and then we called a couple places. They weren't even open for public. So that's another thing too. That was the only reason I didn't shoot a deer that weekend, was because of that.
Yeah, talking about this now too makes me want to break out the bow and try deer hunting next year with the bow, or I may even try with some hogs this year. It's just figuring out when. By the way, if y'all hear a snorting or a licking sound, my bulldog is going crazy right now, trying to lick my feet.
Sure that
Come
is.
here, Creed.
Sure it is.
Come here. Come say hi to the podcast. Oh,
dude, he's chunky.
He's chunky. This is our yeah. This is our mascot. Say hi, Creed. All right.
He sounds like he has a breathing problem, dog. You should go get that checked out.
Gosh darn it. But yeah, just like anything, do your research, practice, and fall in love with it. I definitely did.
If you know somebody with a bow and you're interested in doing it, ask them to take you out and like try it first.
Yeah, always try it before you spend the money on it.
Obviously, their bows, it's going to most likely be heavier than you're probably going to be able to pull back. But just give it a shot. If it's adjustable, just lower the poundage on it. Yeah. So.
But yeah, until I think that's about everything as far as the bow thing. It's just getting into it, kind of figuring out what you like. God dang that dog. And just figuring out what you want to do. But definitely it's another way for you to get in the outdoor life. That's kind of why we're here. We're wanting to open everybody's eyes to different ways to get in the outdoors, showing you how amazing it can be. I'll have to break out the bows for next time and show y'all some of the setups I run. But until next time, I'd say stay healthy, stay active, and enjoy the outdoors.
See ya.